Welcome to another episode of Ask Tomorrow. I'm your host, Tomorrow. Better sleep makes for a better me, and Casper's cooling collection has everything hot sleepers need to keep cool all night long, like the Wave Hybrid Snow Mattress for over 12 hours of cooler sleep. Okay, next caller.
Hi, Tomorrow. I need to break up with my boyfriend. Any suggestions?
Get him a breathable mattress protector. It helps hot sleepers stay cool.
I think I'll just go with flowers.
Yeah, none of my exes appreciated the mattress protector either. Casper, love your tomorrow.
Welcome to Bollywood is for Lovers, part of the Alberta Podcast Network, locally grown, community supported. I'm Erin Fraser.
And I'm Matt Bose. It's time for our annual mid-year review episode, where we recap all the notable Hindi language releases of the year so far.
Did we go bananas for Hello Charlie?
Is Salman Khan truly our most wanted buy?
And is 2021 the year of Pariniti Chopra?
All this and more as we discuss all the Hindi language movies that have released since January that we have bothered to watch.
Before we begin, we would like to respectfully acknowledge that we record this podcast on Treaty 6 territory, home to First Nations and Métis people.
Okay, beer cheers first.
Oh, okay. Cheers! I am drinking a Sea Change Atomic Sonic Lager. What do you have?
I've got the Collective Arts Mai Tai Sour, which only has the ingredients in French on it, I guess? That's weird.
Maybe. Is Collective Arts in Quebec? I'm not sure.
No, it's Calgary. No, it's not. It is Montreal. Okay, that makes sense then.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, these Mai Tai Sours I'm really impressed with. They actually...
Very orgeat-y.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I don't want to get on my high horse about Mai Tais, but the ingredient that people don't realize is in a Mai Tai that kind of gives that flavor is orgeat. It's like an almond syrup. So when I saw those and I saw that the ingredients included orgeat and like orange and pineapple was nowhere to be seen, I thought, well, that's legit because there's no pineapple in a Mai Tai. But a lot of things, people call things Mai Tais that have pineapple in it.
Yeah.
Anyways, this has been the beer hour with Matt and Aaron.
So we didn't actually watch everything because some of them didn't come out here and we're only two people. We only have so much time.
Right. So this is an episode that we do annually. So instead of doing kind of a best of the year episode, we do two kind of check-in episodes. We do one in June, the mid-year review, and then we do one at the end of the year, which is the year-end review episode. We've done this since we started the podcast, with the exception of 1 year where we skipped the mid-year review episode because of some things that were going on in our personal life. It turned out to be, well, it was a good decision in the moment to not do the episode, but then when it came to doing the year-end episode, boy, was it a doozy. So we have recommitted to our mid-year review episodes. Now, this year is a little different. I feel like we're saying the same thing that we said last year at the end of our year-end episode and kind of echoing some of what we said at the 2020 mid-year review episode, and that is that we are still in the coronavirus pandemic. And so movie theaters across the globe have been open or closed intermittently. And unfortunately, India, the country
that makes Bollywood,
that produces the films that we discuss on this show, is having a rather difficult and scary and critical COVID crisis at the moment. And so
they got a few movies out early this year, but that's it.
Yeah, there were a couple that went to theaters early in the year, and then as a result of cases climbing in India, there have been less films released theatrically, and so a lot of the films that we're discussing have been released to VOD. And here in Canada, movie theaters have been closed since December until just about recently. And so we haven't been able to
Is that across the country or just in Alberta they were closed?
Just in Alberta.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, they were open in Saskatchewan. But there also hasn't been a lot of Hindi language releases in theaters.
There's been drive-ins essentially, but the regular theaters have not been allowed.
Exactly. So even if there were some Hindi language releases, we wouldn't have been able to go see them. So I think we have a lot of interesting films to discuss. And as always,
maybe more interesting than good.
we have done our best to try and capture a snapshot of kind of the first 6 months. Again, it's a different 6 months than usual because a lot of these have been VOD releases, although the big theatrical releases also for the most part went quickly to VOD. And I think that's a good thing. I think it's a good thing for film fans worldwide to be able to access these movies in a safe and secure way. I don't think anyone needs to risk their life to go to the theater right now.
And none of them were like this Disney Plus thing of renting either. Like,
no,
it's paying for the service. You get it.
Yeah, we didn't have to pay a premium price to watch any of these films. They just all came with services that we already subscribed to, which is very nice, though I don't think we would be opposed paying a premium for a film here or there.
I'm just surprised they didn't do it for SalmanCon.
Right. So we didn't get to everything we had wanted to watch. I think going forward, we might have to reassess how we do these episodes.
Well, do you want to explain why?
So I no longer watch movies for a living. So our past year-end and mid-review episodes were somewhat doable because I would see a lot of movies without you.
If you're wondering why that was, then yeah.
It was because it was my job to watch movies. I've changed career paths. We don't need to get into what I'm doing now. And so these kinds of episodes going forward, I think we're interested to hear from the audience kind of these are very popular episodes.
But they're also really hard to do.
Yeah, and so I think we're curious going forward, hearing from you guys on what you kind of like to see from our mid-year and year-end episodes. Do you like us to try and
Do you want us to keep doing them?
As many.
For one?
Yeah. Well, they're popular, so I assume people want us to keep doing them. Do you want us to attempt to watch as many movies as possible and fire through them as quickly as possible? Or would you prefer if it was a more curated list of 10 or 7 that we were able to go more in depth on? Let us know, because we are reassessing how we're going to do them, and the way we set about doing this episode was not manageable for us, and I blame you, Matt.
Well, yeah, I don't have a really long attention, so no, I don't have a really long memory. So
you wanted to watch them all as close to as possible, whereas I wanted to space them out over the 6 months, and you said, no, let's wait and watch them as many.
Wasn't it nice to watch other things occasionally?
Yeah.
I thought that this year, it seemed like they were kicking a bunch of the marquee things to next year, with good reason. And
yeah, some of the marquee titles that we were expecting, I think the one I was most looking forward to is Tufan, which I think has only been moved to July for now, and is going to be, from what I understand, it was going to be in theaters, but also on Amazon Prime at the same time. I'm also looking forward to 83. Yeah, there's a number of big films that...
Thoroughhead Shetty cop thing?
Yeah, that I've been looking forward to. I don't know if I'm looking forward to that one, but there are a number of big films that I have been looking forward to for a while, and I'm still looking forward to. It doesn't bug me that they've been delayed at all. It's necessary.
But what I'm saying is, this year especially, it did not seem like the A game was being released. This is stuff that had been sitting on the shelf, or was probably already destined for, VOD anyway. Like, they kept all the really good ones behind. There's like 3 or 4 movies here I liked, but for the most part, they're average to bad.
There's a couple I really loved. But I do agree with you that
So that's why I was kind of putting it off.
Okay.
Because I wasn't seeing anything like, oh, I got to go check that out.
Well, and I think the two films that we were most excited about, we actually did get to pretty quickly after their releases, because we were primed for them.
Koi Johnny, no, that's the one.
Yeah, so this is a bit of a mixed bag. So all that's to say, if you have any feedback for us on how we do these episodes, let us know. Let us know if you really want us to try and watch as many movies as possible, if you've liked in the past that we've been able to cover like dozens upon dozens of movies, or if you would prefer
we're coming up to 400 movies on the letterbox list, which is absurd.
Or if you would prefer a more curated list. And obviously we need to reassess how this is going to work when movie theaters open again in general. So and they're regularly showing Hindi films again.
Yeah. Also, a couple of these didn't come out here. So, Mumbai Saga did not come out here.
Yes. So
here's a list of things we haven't watched.
As Matt was saying, this is a bit of a mixed bag. We have a list here of films that we kind of put on our possible watch list as we were selecting things, and we either didn't get to them because they didn't come out here. They look boring. Weren't interested in them.
They looked poorly made.
The reviews were bad.
They were on Z5.
We just kind of didn't find time. So in alphabetical order, we have 99 Songs, which I think you just heard was very bad.
That's A.R. Rahman's movie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard it wasn't very good.
Yeah. Ajib Distance.
That one is too long.
No, it's like 2.5 hours. It's a normal length for a Bollywood movie.
Yeah, I know. I'm just trying to think of something for each one.
Bansuri the Flute. It didn't come out here. Hum Bi Akli Tum Bi Akli. Kagaz. Lahore Confidential. Madam Chief Minister. Mele Patar. Or Meal Patar? Meal Patar.
I think it's probably Meal Patar.
I would still really like to see that one.
That looked good. It
does look good.
It looks like a bummer, and I needed a not bummer that day.
Mumbai Saga, which is one of the highest grossing Bollywood films of the year so far.
Didn't come out here.
It hasn't come out here. Again, for obvious reasons, our movie theaters were closed.
Yeah, and it didn't come out on streaming.
And it's not available on streaming. The Power, Sardar Ka Grandson, Shadistan. I'd like to catch up with Shadistan. I'm interested in that one. And Silence, Can You Hear It?
I watched the first 10 minutes of that one, and it looked like an episode of NCIS.
Yeah.
So it did not look like a movie.
Yeah. So those are the ones we didn't get to. If any of you have some films to recommend among that list that you think it's worth we take the time to try and catch up with,
I'm interested in
let
Mumbai
us know.
Saga. I love a good gangster movie. I would like to see that someday.
Yeah.
It's just we could not see that one.
I like a lot of these a lot more than I liked Dil Bachara, which was kind of the big Hotstar release last year. I like a lot of these more than I liked Coolie number 2, which was Coolie number 1.
Part 2.
Yeah, I like these.
Coolie Origins.
I like these a lot more than Coolie number 1, which is again like that was a big push to Amazon Prime.
None of these have like a big back behind it. Like none of these are like have any marketing.
Yeah, I can't.
They're all going to get stuck in the froth of Amazon Prime and Netflix.
Marketing, if they don't have marketing that we're seeing.
Sure, yeah, they're not being marketed to us, at least in the West. And I feel like I try to keep up on like Bollywood news and stuff and marketing and trailers and things, but it just is not being focused this way.
Oh yeah, a lot of what we keep seeing is delays, which again
makes sense.
It is necessary. No one should be risking their life to go to the cinema.
Yep.
I do want to reiterate that, but
I'm not going anytime soon.
But a lot of these films do have big names. I will say there's a lot of women's pictures among this list.
That's the other thing is that yes, it's very much movies by not the biggest stars, but kind of stars from about 10 years ago, and doing kind of personal projects, it feels like.
And I think those films among this list
are
some of the better ones.
Yeah.
All right. So our first film is Tripanga Teddy Meddy Crazy. This came
trilingual,
out...
eh? Huh. It's a trilingual family drama.
Yes. This came out early on in the year, January 15th, on Netflix. It's relatively short. It's only 95 minutes. Directed by Renuka Shahane, starring Kajol, Tanvi Azmi, and Mithila Palakar, as well as Kunal Roy Kapoor, who I did not recognize at first. He had so much facial hair. He's usually like, I don't know, I just picture him clean shaven.
Or in Jelly Belly, just kind of being a gross guy.
Yeah. This was such a subtle role for him. I'm used to him being a much more broad comedian.
Kind of too subtle.
Maybe, yeah.
He's a boring guy.
So this is a film that I kind of felt like was in the vein of something like Terms of Endearment or Beaches. It's kind of an overarching story about 3 generations of women in this family, and it jumps around in time. So kind of the instigating incident is that Kajol, who's arguably the lead, her mother, who was a famous writer, falls into a coma, and her adult daughter, along with her brother, kind of have a bit of a family reunion where they are forced to confront the demons of their past and kind of come to terms with things. And these three generations of Indian women kind of present different ideas about the roles that women have in society, in families, in Indian culture, and I think also roles that women around the world find themselves in.
Well, that's also why it's called Tribanga too, because the grandmother is like the cerebral one, Kajol's kind of the wacky one, and her daughter
she's
is
more like she's very
the artsy,
bodily.
Creative. Yeah, she's a dancer. Although we don't see her dance.
Yeah,
that's the worst part of the whole movie. It's very annoying. And her daughter is supposedly like the perfect melding of kind of left brain, right brain.
Yeah, and she's also the traditional one.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's the one who kind of, because her mother and grandmother have led such untraditional lives.
Yeah, she reacts.
She reacts by marrying into a very traditional family. I did really...
Also, Kunal Roy Kapoor is a PhD student, or he's got his doctorate in Indian women's literature. And he's interviewing the grandma for what turns out to be her autobiography. I don't know what he was doing exactly. Like he's doing a piece on her. And,
well, it's for her autobiography.
Yeah, she can't write anymore.
Yeah.
Her hands have too much arthritis, essentially. So he's interviewing her to help her write this autobiography. And then the narrative moves between like interviews with her, memories, Cadle's memories. Like it kind of moves all around, which is an interesting plot structure.
Yeah, which is part of why I felt kind of like it reminded me of Beaches, because Beaches, you have like these flashbacks that fill in the relationship between the two women. And then again, like Terms of Endearment, that relationship between
Mother and daughter. And sickness.
I like movies in this genre. I think that there is a lot of value for kind of like the woman's weepy.
It was a huge genre for years.
Yes, and I like when these movies are done well, and I like when directors really sink their teeth into it. This only goes part of the way there for me. I did really like it, but I wanted more. I think that they left some of it out of it.
This is where the kind of content warning of Netflix screws up the whole movie, because you see what it says, like, oh, well, I get what the whole problem is now.
Yeah,
and it ruined it essentially.
Yeah, I
agree. It's pretty straightforward. Like there aren't any twists or anything that are really going to surprise you. And I knew it going in because it's Netflix. It's annoying.
Yeah, that is frustrating. I agree. We won't ruin it for you, but
well, yeah,
when you queue it up, you'll see it.
Close your eyes for the first 5 seconds of the movie. You're just looking at Kunal Roy Kapoor's computer anyway, so it's not that exciting. But just don't look at the content warning.
Unless that content warning is
it could
useful for
you.
It's kind of a double-edged sword.
It's really predicated on that, though.
Yeah.
Like that's the crux of the whole movie, and then it's kind of cliched.
Yeah. I think Kajol gives a fantastic performance. She's great.
She's
fantastic in this.
Kajol says at least like 90 times in this movie, and I'd never heard her do that before.
Yeah.
And it's actually like a pretty important part of her character that she swears all the time. And that was fun.
Yeah. I think Tanvi Azmi is also very good. Mithila Palkar, I always like. I think I just wanted more from her character.
It's a short movie. It's only an hour and a half. So.
Well, exactly. And this is... We often complain films are too long, but this is one where I feel like it was too short. Like,
it could be an epic family saga.
I think it needed like a bit more time to really get into it. I just felt a little unsatisfied by what we had. But I do really like it. And I think this is a strong film to kick off the year.
I thought it was fine. I think I gave it 3 stars.
All right.
Out of 5.
Next, from January to February. Oh boy.
The first Pariniti Chopra film, and arguably the second best one.
Sure.
Maybe.
It's
a real race to the bottom. So.
Well, no, one of them is very
One
good.
of them is good. The other 2, it's debatable.
Yeah.
So this is The Girl on the Train, which is directed by Ribu Dasgupta, and it's actually a genuine adaptation of the American version.
Yeah, it's
official adaptation. It says it's like Amblin Entertainment is involved.
Yeah, I think the opening credits cited both the Hollywood film and the book.
It's nice to see. Yeah.
The book by Paula Hawkins, obviously.
Yeah.
Which I have not read.
I had not read the book and can't say I'm not interested, but...
I've seen the Hollywood version of the film, which I will throw in my 2 cents.
Yeah.
In a second.
From what I remember of this book, it was kind of a spat of the girl books.
Yeah.
After The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, there was just kind of a bunch of books that came out that were kind of like sort of erotic thrillers or like female-focused thrillers.
Yeah.
Because there's this one and The Woman at the Window, which just came out.
I don't think any of them are overly erotic, but yeah.
Yeah.
Not the way when we say like a 90s erotic thriller.
But like there's a sex element involved.
They're not Jade.
Yeah, they're not Jade. They're not Wild Things. I wish this was Wild Things. This maybe is on the same emotional tenor as Wild Things.
I don't think it quite gets there. But I would love to see Aditi Rai Chowdhury in a Bollywood remake of Wild Things.
Yeah.
Make it happen.
Who else would you get, though? Is she Nev or is she Denise?
Get her and Katrina Kaif. Oh, man. This would be an amazing movie.
I wish that movie existed right now.
And Abhay Dale.
Oh, yeah. He's a pretty good dupe.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Okay, so I don't know if you've seen The Girl in the Train or read the book, but it features Parineeti Chopra, Aditi Rao Hydari, Kirti Kuhari, and Avinash Tiwari. So Parineeti Chopra is a lawyer who seems to have a pretty good life with her husband, and she is investigating a Sikh gangster. Not investigating, but she's like, she's a prosecutor. She prosecutes the Sikh gangster, and in retaliation, her car gets hit by another car, and she loses her baby. So
then her life spirals out of
control. Her life spirals out of control. She breaks up with her husband.
Note, this is all told to us in flashback.
This is the first 10 minutes of the movie, too. She starts drinking all the time, and now she kind of commutes into London every day. No, not London. Yeah, it is London.
It's London.
She commutes into London every day for some reason. Like she's trying to get jobs. She lost her job. She's very depressed and drinking constantly.
And interestingly, if I remember correctly, the book, which again I have not read, but I believe the book is set in London, but the Hollywood movie is set in New York. So this returns the story to London.
Obviously.
It makes some other crazy changes, though.
Yeah. So Aditi Rao Hydari is a girl. I guess Parineeti Chopra is the girl on the train.
Yeah.
Aditi Rao Hydari is the girl off the train who Parineeti Chopra watches out of the window every day.
From the train.
So this is a girl who has a handsome husband. They're outside all the time. Every time the train goes by, they're frolicking around. And Parineeti Chopra sees something out the window one day that kind of like twigs her, like, what? What is that?
Yeah.
What's happening to this girl I've kind of built up in my head?
Yeah, she becomes kind of obsessed with her because she has a perfect life and Parineeti Chopra feels that she lost her perfect life.
Yeah. After a fairly intense series of events, Aditi Rao Hydari has gone missing, and Parineeti Chopra is found pretty beat up afterwards.
Yeah.
And has a lot of evidence pointing towards her as being involved with this disappearance.
Because of her accident, she can't form short-term memories.
This is a stupid Hollywood contrivance that because of her alcoholism and also getting hit by a car, she can't remember anything. And the movie weaves in and out of remembering this.
Yeah, and Kriti Kulhari is the investigator who's looking into Aditi Rao Hydari's
Yeah, interestingly, a
disappearance.
Sikh cop trying to figure this out. Sikh woman cop.
Yes. So...
We haven't got to the most important part, though. Parineeti Chopra gets hit in the head, and for the entire movie, apart from flashbacks, she has just got the most hideous appliance on her head to look like a wound.
Yeah, the makeup department has put like this big scar on her head, but you and I thought it looks more like someone has just pasted a piece of capicola to her head.
Capicola, salami.
There's a piece of deli meat on her head.
Yeah, it looks ridiculous. And
this does not look like a cheap movie. Like, otherwise, I think this movie looks really good.
It's fine. No, the movie's not fine. The movie sucks. But, like, the look of it was fine. The costumes are fine. They could have just put a Band-Aid on her head rather than having this stupid appliance.
Bollywood movies love just, like, bandaging people's heads. Like,
yeah.
They do it. So if someone hurts their foot, they put a bandage on their head.
Yeah. So do you remember that podcast I was listening to and I went to go see live with Sam and friend of the show, Juliet?
Yeah, the Star Trek one.
The Greatest Generation?
Yeah.
They have a term called loaf, where specifically with Klingons, but with a lot of other alien races, they say that character has a lot of loaf on them. Like they put a lot of appliance, a lot of goop, a lot of stuff. She's got a lot of loaf on, a lot of loaf on her face. And yeah, so Parineeti Chopra has to solve this mystery while drunk off her ass half the story and essentially being chased by the cops. This is a very bad movie. It's extremely bad, like one of the worst movies of the year. It's just incompetently done. The acting by Parineeti Chopra is on such a shrieky, over-the-top level, and you know she could do better. She'll do better in a movie we'll talk about in like a half an hour. I don't know what the problem was. They just screwed it up so badly. Apparently the Hollywood one was okay. I don't know. We watched the thing explaining kind of all the cinema. We watched the Cinema Sins video. I'm so sorry.
Well, yeah,
but like because I hadn't seen it and I want to see what the difference was, and it looks pretty accurate to what happened in the American version.
Sort of, and I wanted to watch that video because it's been like I saw the Hollywood film when it came out, and I just did not remember certain details. But I will say that if you're familiar with the story, whether you've read the book or you've seen the Hollywood film, they throw a twist in at the end here. So
a very stupid twist.
The denouement is kind of completely different.
Well, they wanted to make it different, so if you'd seen it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But it's a very dumb twist.
But I don't think that was a good call. Not that I find the original film satisfying. I don't know. I think this movie, on one hand, it's like a very kind of straightforward adaptation of its source material. But on the other hand, all of the changes that it makes, I don't understand. So they completely do away with Parineeti Chopra's ex-husband's new wife and their child.
Well, she's in it, but you see her for like 10 seconds. I don't even know if they're married.
She's not like the third main character of the piece like she is in the original.
She comes up a couple times and she's very annoyed by Parineeti Chopra calling.
I couldn't even tell if they were married.
Yeah, it was unclear. Yeah.
So I think kind of the examination of, you know, in the same way that we were talking about in Trabanga, the examination of three different kinds of women. You had that in the original, The Girl on the Train, but here they just completely do away with one of the women. I think they also...
But the investigator is pretty, central.
Well, the investigator is also... Because in the Hollywood film,
you get a lot of her.
Janney, and you get a lot of her as well. I think they do have kind of they get rid of some of the characters here. It's easier for me to remember a lot of the characters from the Hollywood film because they're all played by
pretty big actors, right?
Yeah, relatively big names. I don't know. I think it makes some changes that I find really unsatisfying. Aditi Roy Howdry, though, as kind of the girl that the girl on the train becomes obsessed with, I think is fantastic casting because she just has that inherent, I find her so magnetic. I got in some weird Twitter flack for saying that I thought she was kind of the most impressive part of Fatur, and people were like, how could I possibly say that? It
certainly was not ARK.
People were like, how could you say she gave a better performance than Tabu, which was not what I was saying.
Also, no one really gave a good performance in Fatur.
Well, yeah, and I just think that was the first time I'd ever seen Aditi Roy Howdry, and she made such an impression on me in kind of the 5 minutes that she's in that film that I've never forgotten her.
And she's really good in the Bhansali one too.
Yeah, Padmavat. I just think she has such presence, and I think this is just perfect casting to use her in this way as kind of this object of desire that you can
kind of damaged too.
Yeah, that you can never quite possess, you can never quite understand as this kind of object of obsession. Genius casting it. The rest of the film completely does not work. This was
it's a letdown.
A big disappointment. I mean, I didn't like the Hollywood film. I wasn't necessarily expecting to like this film, but I am here for a Parineeti Chopra comeback. And unfortunately, I don't think this is the film that's going to
now,
do it.
Why did they feel the need to unload 3 Parineeti Chopra movies in 6 months? I'll say one of them was very good. The other one...
And that was the one that's been sitting on the shelf the longest.
Yeah, because I remember seeing a trailer for Unnamed Movie, we'll talk about it in a second, 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. And I thought, oh, that looks interesting. Why didn't that get an actual release in 2018 or 2019? Was there stuff yet to be finished on it and then it got delayed by the pandemic? That's weird. And then Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what the point was of releasing all of these together, because it makes it look like it's the summer of Pariniti Chopra, but I don't think it is.
I mean, I think it might just be kind of the way the cookie crumbled, partly because of the pandemic. Mm-hmm. You know. So our next film is our only animated film on this list, and I think...
One of our few ever.
Yeah, the first time we've discussed an animated film in one of these styles of episodes. We have done...
We did Arjun.
Yeah, we did an episode on Arjun, and I think that's the only other animated film we've ever discussed on the show.
It's a very interesting movie.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of animation, and I was really looking forward to this. It was supposed to come out last year, and I think it ended up getting delayed so that they could finish the project. It finally came out on March 8th on Netflix, and it is Bombay Rose from Gitanjali Rao. This is about a young woman named Kamala, voiced by Sile Kare, who sells flowers in Mumbai to support her younger sister and her grandfather. Her younger sister, Tara, spends a lot of time with her English teacher, Mrs. D'Souza, voiced by Amardeep Jha. And there's a young Muslim guy in the neighborhood who takes a liking to Kamala, voiced by Amit Deondi. And kind of the notable name among the cast is Anurai Kashyap, who plays the film star Raja Khan, who kind of pops up.
It's kind of Salman-y.
Yeah, like a Salman Khan type character who pops up at a couple moments in the film, but is not necessarily like a main character.
He's someone that Salim is interested in. He watches his movie early on.
Exactly. So this film really feels like a love letter to Bombay or Mumbai and the people in Bombay or Mumbai. And it's very much interested in kind of the history of the city. So there are moments when the characters are walking around the city and it transforms into an older Bombay around them.
Yeah, Johnny Walker, Devan on Bombay. Yeah,
and they imagine themselves in an older era. It's done in a painterly style. It was all hand painted. It's maybe a bit kind of crude and abstract at times, but that feels like
the main style, I find, is very... I think it's trying to look at like kind of the anonymity of the city. So most people are kind of sketched out. You don't really see faces. You see the main character's faces, maybe someone else, but people in the background are kind of more blocky objects. Mm-hmm. And I think that's okay, but then when it's that sort of 50s style black and white, or Kamala imagines herself as kind of a princess.
Kind of like a Padmavat figure.
Yeah, and it's drawn in a sort of medieval style, drawing style that you get from old pictures. Mm-hmm. And the Raja Khan stuff is kind of super colorful and Bollywood looking. I found all those looks a lot better than what the movie looks like for the most of the runtime. And I wonder if that was a budgetary problem.
I don't know. I think it is deliberate. I think like there is a deliberate choice in aesthetics here.
It does make the real world look really boring.
Yeah. Yeah, and the film is very much interested in kind of the depiction of Bombay or Mumbai on screen. And so kind of Mrs. D'Souza is an old film, or I'm not sure if she was a star, but she was in films back in the day, and she's excited that they're going to play Howrah Bridge on TV because she's in Howrah Bridge. And at one point at a kind of sleazy club, which is called Piazza, they're always playing one of the songs from Dawn. As we mentioned, the Raja Khan character, he's in kind of a very, like we see clips of his very typical Bollywood masala
punching
film.
A door down, beating up a guy.
Yeah, so the film is very interested in this idea of the city through cinema. Mm-hmm. It's I think it's a lovely, lovely film. I don't know if I was quite as taken with it as I'd hoped I'd be, but I did really enjoy it, and I am interested to see more of Rao's work. I'm interested to see what she'll do next, and I'm excited by Indian animation.
Yeah, you don't see it that often.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of knowledge of Indian animators or kind of the history of animation in India, and so I would like to see more animation. I'm a big fan of animated films. I think you and I are kind of spoiled with kind of the lush details that we get from Cartoon Saloon and Studio Ghibli. This is, again, like, there's more abstraction going on here. It's not clean lines. It's a painterly style, but I did get kind of really drawn into this, the way this city is represented here.
I thought it was okay. I think the parts I liked the best were anytime it's, someone's imagining something. She's dreaming of being a Hindu princess in the Mughal era.
Yeah. So
that kind of makes sense with a Muslim guy as well. I think the affectation I thought was the funniest was that Mrs. D'Souza plucks a rose from her garden every day and then takes it to a loved one's grave. And we see a bee go inside, and then we get kind of inside the rose vision. We see the rose as it gets marched over to the graveyard. And there's a song about Only Marion Goins that I thought was fun, that is always being played during the rose parts because D'Souza is going, and there's this other guy named Anthony who runs a kind of used props store. He's also going, so they have kind of an interplay. I thought that was fun. But I just found that sometimes the drawing is really good, and then sometimes you'll get like really artifacty digital backgrounds that distracted me, like they're really pixelated, and then you have this nice drawing on top of it. So I just kind of wish it had more money and was able to smooth it out. Or if that's the idea, then I just didn't like the idea.
Yeah,
like I just found it a little bit lacking in the visuals, and also the story is very stereotypical. So it's not going to change your life.
Yeah, so it took 18 months to make with 60 artists.
Which is not a lot for an animated movie.
No, it's not. They painted it frame by frame in a computer. It's not like Loving Vincent where they did like, I guess, actual paintings, or The Tale of the Princess Kaguya, which is like all like kind of watercolor paintings. It was done in a computer, but I like that it is a 2D flat style because
makes sense with those Mughal images.
Yeah,
that works really well.
Gravitate more towards 2D animation than I do 3D
Some
animation.
parts felt rotoscope to me too, like some of the movement, but it
I
also
wouldn't be surprised if they
the
did some
movement was kind of
rotoscoping.
herky jerky, like it was kind of animated on the 1s and the 3s or something. Like it didn't feel like it was completely animated.
Yeah. It did play at the Toronto International Film Festival in 2019, so I'm not sure if its delay to Netflix is because of any kind of them finishing up production, or I don't know why it got delayed. I think I just assumed it must be production.
Or they just wanted to release it later. I mean,
yeah, I was really looking forward to
studios
it
buy things
December.
and then they don't necessarily put them out right away because they think, well, maybe this will make a splash. But unfortunately, on Netflix and Amazon Prime, you get maybe one day being on the front page and then you're just in the pile.
Yeah.
Like it's not a healthy way of distributing movies.
Yeah. I will say that I agree with you in that kind of Kamala's story, I think, is a bit more typical.
D'Souza's story is good. I wish she was the main character.
I loved
Why
Mrs.
wasn't that the whole
D'Souza's
movie?
story. I wanted so much more from this character.
That was interesting and good. That should have been the whole movie. It didn't need to be an ensemble piece.
I do really like this film, and I really encourage people to check it out. It's only like 90 minutes.
Yeah, it's definitely worth watching. Don't expect a Studio Ghibli movie.
No, but I'm very excited by Gitanjali Rao. I want to see more. I want to see another full-length film because I am someone who gets very excited by kind of world animation. As I said, I love Ghibli. I love Cartoon Saloon. I would like to see more animation that's not your typical kind of like Disney or Pixar fare. Even though I like those movies, and I especially like what Sony's been putting out lately, I want more.
Well, it was interesting that this movie is almost entirely about like poor people.
Yeah.
D'Souza, she's
which I think is contrasting again this idea
against the movies
of Bombay as this glitzy glamorous.
But like everyone is destitute.
Yeah.
So you don't see that too often, especially in animation.
Next, we have a film that played in theaters in India. It didn't come out here, but luckily it arrived its way on streaming in time for us to watch it for this episode.
Yeah, this is also kind of a letdown, this movie, I think. So this is Ruhi, directed by Hardik Mehta, and this is the spiritual sequel, I guess, or possibly actual sequel to Stree. I
guess they might be creating some sort of cinematic universe. I'm not too sure.
It's a cinematic universe of monsters that Rajkumar Rao has to defeat by falling in love with them.
Yeah, right now I would just call it a spiritual sequel. I'm not too sure.
Yeah. So this features Rajkumar Rao, Janvi Kapoor, Varun Sharma, and yeah, that's about it. So in this movie, this takes place in a town called Bhagatpur, where girls get kidnapped when it's time to get married to them. And
I believe this is to avoid paying dowry.
Something like that.
There was another film that came out a couple years ago with Siddharth Malhotra and I think Pariniti Chopra, that had a very similar plot of like you kidnap brides and grooms.
So Rajkumar Rao and Varun Sharma.
I do not remember the name of that movie.
Yeah, I remember you talking about it. I didn't see it. These two guys are ostensibly working for a newspaper, and this town, I guess, doesn't have that much news, so they kind of sideline in the newspaper owner's business of kidnapping brides. Janvi Kapoor is a bride that they are tasked with kidnapping, and
it's the first time they've ever had to kidnap the bride kind of like by themselves.
Yeah, it's their first job, and they kind of screw it up. But they kidnap her. And
they don't screw it up.
They kidnap her, and then their boss says, "Oh, we don't need her right away. Can you take her somewhere?"
Well, they called it off.
They called off the wedding because someone got shot by a cop, as I recall. So it's like, can you go take her and hide her for a week, and then hopefully they can get the wedding going again? So they take her to a kind of...
I think they just are supposed to hide her for a week, and then they're just going to, like, let her go.
Something like that. So they take her to a kind of Evil Dead style house next to a mill. Not a mill. Somewhere where they make logs, whatever that's called. And, you know, she's scared at first, and Rajkumar Rao kind of likes her. It's making very literal the sort of creepy romance you get in a lot of Bollywood movies. But then you find out that she's possessed by a spirit called a Mudya Pyri, who is invoked when a girl is kind of left at the altar. So she's got a split personality, and the witch can like crawl on the ceiling. She eats deer that are running by. Generally kind of a gross monster person. And then hilariously, Varun Sharma's character falls in love with the witch because he's a weirdo horoscope type guy. So it's a romantic triangle where the girl is two different people.
Yeah.
And they have a variety of misadventures. Essentially, they have to take her to a town that specializes in demonic possessions and getting them out of people. And it all comes to a head, and there's stuff that happens.
Yeah.
This was okay. Stree, I think, had a better metaphor because, you know, having women be afraid the way having men be afraid that women are the same way that women are afraid of men is interesting and kind of novel. Having a woman turn out to be a witch is pretty common. And split personality is kind of interesting. And then there's also kind of looking at like faith healing and various quacks and that kind of thing to try and deal with problems that people might have. Like mental illness problems that people might have. Rajkumar Rao tries all kinds of different ways to get the Ruhi out. No, to get Afsa out of Ruhi. Afsa's the witch name. Well, get her out of there.
It's very clever because they're using possession as a way to discuss how traditionally, through the act of marriage, men possess women.
Yeah.
But
it's not entirely good.
It's smart, and I think all of these performances are great. I think Janvi Kapoor
the main three are good,
is really starting to come into her own for me. I'm really starting to jive with her. Varun Sharma is very funny.
Yeah, I would like to see him in more movies. He's very charming.
And I love Rajkumar Rao. I don't think this is a performance that when I kind of think about my favorite Rajkumar Rao
he's basically playing the same guy as Stree.
I don't know.
He's a bit sleazier in this one.
Yeah, he's a bit sleazier in this one. So, like, I do really like this movie, and yet it just, like, I like the ideas
It's
in
too
the
long.
movie. I like the performances. But yeah, it's too long. It doesn't completely come together for me. But it opens with a really sexy number with Jeffrey Kapoor.
First song at the beginning, very good. And then ending song, also very good.
Yeah.
Songs in the middle, could take or leave.
I think maybe it just doesn't do as much with the kind of horror comedy elements.
It's not as funny.
That Street did, yeah. It's not as funny. I admire its themes. I think they're well worth exploring.
Yeah.
Again, I like these performances, but it doesn't entirely come together for me. That being said, I still enjoyed this movie. I'm not mad at it by any
It was okay.
means.
It doesn't have a Pankaj Tripathi type guy who is like knowledgeable about the dark arts. They have various, there's a tantric and there's lots of guys that come in. Yeah. Because for the most of the movie, it's just the three of them in the woods. And, you know, you don't really see the three of them interact at the same time because then the way that she shifts between the monster and the girl doesn't work. Because every time Rajkumar Rao sees the monster, he's scared. Every time the other guy sees her, he likes it. But that doesn't work if they're all there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there isn't enough comedic interplay, and it needs a Pankaj Tripathi type older guy actor, or maybe an older woman. There's a kind of homeless woman who might have had this happen to her in the past, who kind of helps a little bit, but she's not in it that much.
She's a great character, but she comes in kind of too late.
Yeah, they needed a kind of someone for it to bounce off of, and the guy who runs the newspaper / kidnapping business is okay, but he's gone for half the movie. So, yeah, it needed more stuff, but also was too long.
But I still really enjoyed it.
It was fine.
Yeah, and at this point,
It's not as good as Stree.
At this point and I think that's the problem.
It's a follow-up to a much better movie.
Exactly.
It's Ghostbusters 2.
I think if we hadn't seen Stree, if it didn't have kind of the legacy of Stree,
if it didn't say from the makers of Stree on the poster,
yeah, then we'd probably have enjoyed it a lot more. It probably would have been like, oh, what a discovery, like Stree was. But instead, it's kind of coming, you know, on Stree's coattails, and we're like, this is not quite as good.
Every scene I was like, where's Stree? What's she up to right now? I want to see her again.
And so I think, like, I don't know, maybe given time, this movie will kind of like, I don't know, like, its
fun.
reputation will
It could also
grow
just be
with
20
me.
minutes shorter, and I think that would just make it better.
Yeah. Because, again, I still really like it. It's just, like, its biggest problem is that it's not as good as Stree.
There's also a subplot.
Which is kind of, I don't know, maybe unfair.
Yeah.
Except for the fact that they're kind of setting it
They're
up
marketing
to be
it as, yeah.
the spiritual sequel to Stree. So
There's also I think he's English guy, a white guy there, filming a documentary. And
He's great.
You
I
get
love
some
him.
good jokes out of that, so that's
Yeah.
another sort of level to it.
yeah. Okay. Our next film is Time to Dance.
This is not the worst movie I've seen all year. It was okay.
It came out on March 12th on Netflix. It's directed by Stanley DaCosta, and it stars Suraj Pancholi, who I have seen in a film before. No, I have not. He debuted with Hero, a movie that I didn't see, and then after that he did something called Satellite Shankar.
This guy is indistinguishable from the main character of Hello, Charlie for me.
Yeah, he's
Just a guy.
He's a star kid. Can't say I'm overly interested in him after this role. And it debuts Isabel Kaif, Katrina Kaif's sister. I honestly don't know if there's much to say about this film.
I can recant the entire plot.
It is a dance movie set in London. Instead of like street dancing or hip hop or
Bollywood dancing.
Or Bollywood dancing, this time it's about ballroom dancing.
Which we did actually learn a little bit about.
We did learn a little bit about ballroom dancing. It's been
that was interesting.
It's been a long time since I've seen Strictly Ballroom, so like I really had forgotten everything I knew about ballroom dancing.
What I learned is that all of the
waltz and the Viennese waltz are different.
Those are two things, and also everything that isn't the quote unquote Latin category is very boring. The Latin category is kind of interesting. But all the other ones they're just spinning around.
Yeah.
Like this one, it does not actually, it tells you all the names of the dances, but then it doesn't show you them well enough to tell them apart.
Yeah. So when this film opens, Suraj Pancholi is a waiter. He's a former dancer turned waiter, and he's
After a traumatic dance. Past.
He's haunted by a traumatic dance accident in his past.
As are we all.
Yeah. Isabel Kaif is a ballroom dancer who teaches and I guess kind of co-owns a ballroom dance school that is struggling, and she is kind of
It's this ballroom dance school in like the fanciest area of London. It is a beautiful building. This is one of those, it's like Doom 3 where they could just sell the building and then have a dance school anywhere and there wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah.
It's much easier to move around than a circus. You don't even need anything.
I believe it's her and her sister, right?
Yeah, I think so.
So her older sister kind of manages the dance school. She's the teacher, and she is entering this like important and major dance competition with her white boyfriend and her white boyfriend's rich mother, who is a former ballroom dancer herself.
She's in there as William's mother. Did she even have a name?
I don't know.
Martin Rycroft
Is William.
There's so much missed opportunities here. He could have been, like, they could have called him William the Conqueror. That would be a funny joke. It's English.
Yeah.
Instead, it's just like, we all love William. Everyone loves William.
Anyways, William's mother, hell-bent on winning this competition, does not like Isabel Cave. There's a lot of, like, anti-Asian sentiment from her.
It's pretty racist. There's never been a South Asian person in this.
I think they say there's never been an Asian person.
Yeah.
And then we do see some other Asian
there's some other Asian
competitors.
peoples in this one.
Yeah.
It's a very prestigious dancing competition.
Anyways,
I forget the name of.
Yeah, that's not important. After an injury, because she goes out partying, and everyone thinks she's been drinking, but she's a good girl.
No, Rishabh knows because she keeps throwing all the shots behind her and hitting him in the face. So he's well aware that she was not drunk. She just fell down.
After an injury, William finds himself another partner, and she becomes determined to heal very quickly and re-enter the competition and show that she deserves to be there and she's an excellent dancer. So
also, their dance company, their dance school is going out of business, so they need money.
Yeah, they need money. They need to win this competition.
They don't sell their Mayfair mansion that it takes place in. They don't do that.
So she convinces Suraj Pancholi to be her partner, and they enter the dance competition.
Get over his dance fear.
As the underdogs. And also their love sparks. It is a very typical dance movie plot where the underdogs have to try and win the dance competition. And they have to try and win the dance competition to save the dance school, okay?
Yes, they have to save the dance school. And by looking at the poster.
It's not like there's really like cute kids who attend this dance school.
No, it's all old people.
Yeah, it's all like middle-aged people who just want to learn how to waltz.
You could tell by looking at this poster if you're into this movie, right?
And guess what, Matt? I kind of was into this movie. I will say, like, I have a fondness for the dance picture. I love Save the Last Dance. I love the Step Up series. I think it's fantastic. I love ABCD.
Street Dancer.
I do, yeah. Again, like, Street Dancer 3 is not a good film.
What was the one where Katrina Kaif was dancing in London? Underground.
Jab Tag Hi John.
Yeah.
Which is not a dance film, but
it had some good dance scenes.
Yeah, it had some good dance scenes. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I like Bollywood. I just like watching people dance. Now, I do
ballroom dancing is not as exciting.
I'm not as into ballroom dancing. It's not like my favorite style. But I do kind of hold dance films to a different kind of criteria than
they
other
don't need
movies.
to be as good.
I just don't think, like, the plots can be generic. I don't always think the acting has to be solid or believable. I just kind of think
lucky for you, they are not.
I just kind of think they need to deliver on the dancing. So, I mean, we watched this film partly because I think audiences know we love Katrina Kaif, so we want to support her little sister. And also, I love dance movies.
Her sister is okay.
This was just okay. I will say it knows exactly what it is, and I think it delivers exactly what it needs to.
It is not putting on airs.
Yeah, the dancing could have been a bit more exciting. I did like watching all the crazy costumes.
Yeah.
At the dance competition. I mean, but it's no Strictly Ballroom.
I think
by no means is it Strictly Ballroom.
I gave it either 2 and 2.5 stars, but it was just like that's what it wanted. It wasn't trying to be some sort of amazing film. It was just like, yeah, we got this new star. Let's make a movie about her dancing. She's good at it. There we go. The main guy is just not that good at dancing is the problem.
Yeah, I don't think I have an opinion yet on Isabel Cave.
She didn't really have a character.
I just don't think she had anything to do. Yeah. I would be happy to watch her in another film. So that was Time to Dance. Now, our next film, I was convinced did not exist.
Let's see it.
For years, I've just thought this movie does not exist. And here we are, Matt.
Ah, good. I get a good one. So this is Sandeep or Pinky Farrar. This is the one that has been delayed for 2 years, and this is the one, part 2 of the Paraniti Summer.
And this is a film that we've been looking forward to for years because it's by Dibakar Banerjee, a
So-
director we quite like.
Wikipedia says the filming began in 2017. It was supposed to come out in 2020, then it came out in 2021.
I feel like it was even supposed to come out earlier.
I thought
than
2019. I remember seeing a trailer a long time ago.
I've been hearing about this film for years, and I stopped believing it existed.
Yeah. So this is one of the better movies of the year.
I'm still not entirely sure I've seen it.
This is one of the better movies of the year.
Yes,
I think.
easily.
It's
and this is one that I think I'm still going to be thinking about in December.
yeah, I mean it is a minor Dibakar Banerjee movie, but that's better than a lot of other movies.
Yeah, I mean, we still haven't seen Khosla Ka Ghosla.
Yeah.
Because they took it off Netflix before we go watch it. But if I were to rank the Dibakar Banerjees, I would probably say this is my least favorite. But he's a director
He's got a huge, they're so good.
I think all of his movies are really good. All of his movies are thought through, including this one. It's just... I just don't like it as much as the other ones.
It has 3 great actors in it. Well, okay. Paraniti Chopra can be very good.
This is a great cast, actually.
Yeah. And actually, this is 3 actors who probably need a director like Dibakar Banerjee to make them good. Because they've been, one of them is always pretty good. And then the other one can be good. I'll just get right into it. So Paraniti Chopra plays Sandeep. Arjun Kapoor plays Pinky, and then Jaideep Alawat plays Tyagi. I think Jaideep Alawat.
Gupta.
Yeah, Nina Gupta's in there. Jaideep Alawat, I think he's usually pretty good.
Yeah.
He was great in Patalock. Mm-hmm. He's very good at kind of an authority figure with Feet of Clay,
but
even though he's more evil in this one.
What about Taxi, the movie that the name I forget? He was the villain in that, wasn't he?
I don't remember.
The one with
Oh yes.
Ishan Qatar.
Yeah, that movie. Kati Bati?
No, that's a different movie.
Something like that.
That's kind of going to run out.
Kali, something like that.
Yeah,
he was okay in that one.
I'm just calling it Taxi.
That was him being a Manoj Bajpayee. In this one...
In Tevar, yeah.
Yeah. He's really good at being cops with a degree of corruption attached to them.
Yes.
So Paraniti Chopra plays Sandeep, I said already. She works at a big bank, which is about to debut a very big product and has been getting people across India to buy into it. Mm-hmm. They're offering super high interest rates. It seems like a good deal for them. But she is mysteriously trying to get away from her employer. Mm-hmm. Pinky, Arjun Kapoor, is I think he's on suspension. He's a cop. They're in Haryana. He's a cop who is hired to track her down and bring her in by sort of a politico. And when he goes to a party to go get her, in the pretty awesome opening scene, we mostly don't see them. When we see instead is a car full of douchebags who...
This is a great scene.
Who are driving around talking about all these chicks they want to bang, etc. And they kind of cut Pinky off, and then we see them driving ahead, and then they run into a bunch of cops who shoot them all, like encounter killing. Mm-hmm. And then Pinky's like, whoa, that was meant for us. They were going to kill both of us. So they go on the run. They head towards where do they go?
Well, they
go up to the mountains somewhere, right?
Yeah, they go to the Nepalese border.
Yeah, they're trying to go to the Nepalese border. Pinky remembered a case where there was a guy who got away that way. So they hide up there, and...
Which is totally fed to him.
Yeah. They hide up there, and they shack up with Raghuber Yadav and Nina Gupta, who are a older couple who are kind of coerced into renting their house. And then Sandeep and Pinky sort of insinuate themselves in the community, making friends and stuff. Still scheming to get out of there, but also kind of liking each other and learning how to deal. Sandeep is, rich, and she has to deal with what it's like to be poor. And Pinky has to kind of get over his problem with his masculinity and his lack of authority and power. And Jaideep Alawat is the corrupt cop who sent Pinky on this wild goose chase to begin with, and is tasked with tracking them down.
The taxi movie, by the way, is Kelly Peely.
Oh, Kelly Peely. I was close.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a good movie. It's a very noir film, which makes sense for Dibakar Banerjee. I could see this having been like a 40s movie, basically. Someone's called in to take someone out, and then they have to go on the run, and then a corrupt cop is after them. That's like classic pulpy fiction stuff, right?
It is so well shot.
Yeah, it's very pretty.
This is the best performance I've seen from Arjun Kapoor in years, and I think
since
it really for me kind of reaffirms why I like him and why I'm always rooting for him.
He's a big bruised ego walking around.
Yeah, and he plays it really well. I love his character arc and where it goes. I think that's a lovely story.
We're playing a song for Minute in a Minute, which is one of our favorite songs of the year, and also a very good dance scene.
The character of Sanjeev, played by Parineeti Chopra, I had a harder time getting a read on. She's motivated by her pregnancy. She's motivated
I forgot to mention that.
Yeah, she's motivated by the fact that she is pregnant, and that's kind of what's her impetus to kind of change her life. And I get that, but I don't know. I don't know if Parineeti Chopra sells this character.
She also learns that the thing that her bank is putting out is bad news, and she
knew that from the beginning.
But she starts to feel bad about it.
Yeah. She grows a conscience, but I don't know. I don't know if I bought her character arc as much as I bought Arjun Kapoor's. I don't know. I hate to say it, but I think she's a little weak.
I mean, between the three of them, she probably is the weakest one, but also she's still pretty good. This is among the best I've ever seen her do.
I disagree. I think Shud Desi Romance is she's fantastic in that.
And it's weird. How come she hasn't done more rom-coms?
Well, she's very good at Mary Pyari Bindu.
Okay, I never finished watching
I think
that.
she's very good, and not because you didn't like it. You got something came up.
I was watching it at work, and I had to do my job again.
Yeah, I do want to do that film on the show at some point because I really like Mary Pyari Bindu.
And it's about a writer.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if she's quite up to the task of this character. This is a very complicated character. I didn't entirely think she delivered, but I think Arjun Kapoor is fantastic. I really like all of the supporting cast. I like a lot the
Muna,
the woman at the bank, who is investigating her, who has just come back from maternity leave, and I kind of like the echoing of motherhood and kind of becoming a mother and choosing between your career and your child, that kind of discussion that they're having between those two characters. This film is also incredibly well shot. Yeah. It looks so good. I will also say there are some very intense scenes, some very violent scenes that could have
crossed the line, but they didn't.
They could have crossed the line. They could have easily become kind of exploitative. And I think Banerjee has such a good handle on these things. This is a great movie.
My favorite character is probably, I like them all, but Muna, Rahul Kumar, he's a kid in town.
I love him.
Who has the same bracelet thing that Salman Khan has in Radhe and other movies.
Yeah, and he and Arjun Kapoor, Pinky, they connect because they love Salman Khan.
They love Salman Khan movies, and they kind of become buddies. And it's just two people who are pretty isolated, integrating themselves into a community, even though they don't want to.
Yeah.
They kind of find themselves, out of their element, but they grow.
Yeah, of all the films on the list, this is the one I most want to rewatch because I think its interrogation of gender is really interesting, and I'd like to dig into that more. I really like this film. I think it's really well shot.
That's one of the better ones of the year.
At this point now, we have 3 films starring Arjun Kapoor and Parineeti Chopra, so we could do an Arjun Kapoor Parineeti Chopra episode.
People say Ishak Jade is really good, and what's the other one?
Oh, it's Namaste London, and it's terrible.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But that could be an interesting episode if people want to hear it.
Please don't make us do that right away.
I highly recommend this movie. I joke that it's
we love Dibakar Banerjee.
We do. Yeah. I joke that this is a movie that does not exist, but I'm so glad it has finally come out. Mm-hmm. All right. Our next film is our last film before interval. These episodes are always so long.
Hey, we're only an hour in, so
every time we sit down to record one, they get longer and longer. I think you having seen all of the movies now is making the episode longer. Yeah. I tried to be so quick on Time to Dance, and yet I feel like we talked about it too long.
No, that's good pod. No one else is going to talk about that movie. Someone has to. And if you can get a few jokes out of it and a couple smiles, that's all you need.
Excellent. All right.
This is the last film in the year of Pariniti Chopra.
That's so far.
So far.
Maybe there's some more in the hopper. I don't know.
This is Saina. It is a biopic.
This is a movie that doesn't exist.
Yeah, it is a biopic of the badminton player Saina Nehwal. What to say about this film? It's directed by Amal Gupte. From what I understand, this was released in theaters, but it's now available on streaming. We watched it on Amazon Prime. Yes, it was released theatrically March 26th, but we watched it on Amazon Prime. I guess the only other kind of notable name, or relatively notable name in the cast is Manav Kol, who I always think of as just playing like Vidya Balan's husband in things.
Mm-hmm.
I like him. Here he's kind of playing a bit of like the villain, which...
In as much as this movie has a villain, really.
Yeah. In as much as it has a...
He's the Rajan Academy guy, right?
Yes. Yeah, he's her coach. In as much as this movie has a villain. So the basic plot line of this movie is...
That's a better poster than the other one. The other one has 3 pictures of Pariniti Chopra, and it reminds you of that, like, the 3 wolves.
Yeah.
Each looking in a different direction, looking scary.
Yeah. So the basic plot of this is that young girl is good at badminton, grows up to become great at badminton. Best at badminton. I don't know. I know a lot of people really liked the MS Dhoni film. I did not, because again, I thought it suffered from the same problem of just like, this woman's life, I ultimately don't find that interesting. Like, well,
the thing that
she's a sports prodigy who then has been really good at sports.
That's funny that Shraddha Kapoor was originally signed to. Okay.
Well, okay.
that would have been maybe more interesting, actually.
This role is like ideal for Deepika Padukone, because yes. Deepika Padukone's father is like the other big Indian badminton player.
Does she like badminton? Because we've seen her play it in Om Shanti Om briefly, but I don't know if she actually is any good at it.
I'm pretty sure she does. She did play badminton before becoming an actress. That being said, I can see her maybe not wanting to do this sort of thing. I can see her maybe wanting to, like, she's carving her own path, not like...
No badminton, or recreational badminton at most.
Yeah, not like living within the legacy of her father. But I didn't know that badminton is really popular in Denmark, which now makes sense as to why Deepika Padukone was born in Copenhagen.
Yeah. Yeah, so I feel like those are the two. India and Denmark are like the big places, but also the
China,
the Philippines.
China's huge, yeah.
And believe it or not, badminton is the one sport I at one point thought I was good at. I like playing badminton. Yeah. I think it's fun. I would happily play some more badminton.
Like, there is a setback in terms of, like, she is injured. It's a sports biopic.
No, there's a big setback that we looked up. We couldn't find if it happened because her mom gets hit by a motorcycle.
Yeah.
Did that happen?
Well, and the thing is, I don't know.
If they thought that up to make the movie more exciting, that is one of the most hilarious ass pulls I've ever seen in my life. This movie is dragging. Let's hit the mother with a motorcycle.
I assume it happened, but
there were no pictures of them in the hospital or anything.
Yeah, but there's this like subplot in MS Dhoni where his like girlfriend is hit by a car, and to this day,
it worked so well in that one that they brought it into this.
To this day, I think that's made up. If anyone knows, please let me know. But I honestly think that was manufactured drama to make the film more interesting. So we've seen a lot of sports biopics from Bollywood, I think essentially since Bag Milkha Bag. We're about to see...
We've seen almost all of the ones that came out, yeah.
Yeah, we're about to see another one with Farhan Akhtar, Tufan. And I think like either...
Is that based on a real guy?
I think so.
Okay.
Apologies if it's not. But, I love Bag Milkha Bag. I love Dangal. I think Mary Kom is quite good. I quite liked Surma. But I think when there isn't really any kind of narrative that they can cling on to, like they couldn't find something to say about Saina.
I think I'm happy for her in real life because her life, apart from her mother getting hit by a motorcycle, maybe has been relatively...
Which I don't think is a huge spoiler. It happens pretty early on in the film.
It's before the interval. Yeah. Like, her life seems to have gone pretty well.
And it doesn't really have an impact on the rest of the film.
No, she had an impact on the motorcycle, but that's about it.
But they're trying to create that same sort of dramatic tension that you had in Mary Kom, where she's, like, boxing, but her twins are maybe clinging for life. Which, again, like...
And she came from a war zone. She lived in a place that was very difficult.
Yeah, I think the better sports biopic, I don't know.
Sina's mom forgot to put the papers in on time, so they had to kind of sneak her into badminton practice day one. And that's like one of the biggest problems of the whole movie.
She drinks too much milk.
Yeah, she drinks too much milk. She has to eat more vegetables.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the better ones...
I bet that was put in for Parineeti Chopra to be like, I lost weight. I did it again.
I think
she loves that in movies.
Well, it's put in there so that the dairy producer could sponsor the film.
Oh, right. Yes, this movie is actually an ad for Dairy and Yonex, the company that makes every badminton thing.
Yeah. I think the better sports biopics are ones that maybe it's not just because the figures at the center of them had to overcome things like partition, as with Bag Milk Bag, but because
R.I.P.
they found a narrative.
He just died.
Yes, that is.
It's too bad.
It's very sad. Him and his wife, who was a swimmer.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's because they've found a way to make the story kind of about the individual, but stand for something more. Stand for something more, usually about the nation. Usually
she
about
goes
India.
to the Olympics, wins a bronze medal. This is not even in the movie, basically. They mention it, but you'd think that would be a big part of her life.
I don't think they were able to develop a theme or develop her as a symbol or use her life to say anything greater. To me, it just feels like young girl is good at badminton, grows up to be very good at badminton.
There's so many movies about boxing because boxing is inherently cinematic.
Yeah.
And running, that's a metaphor. Getting away from...
Boss, that's a boxing movie. It's not...
a great boxing movie.
It's not a biopic.
I can't think of any metaphors for badminton, though.
Well,
right?
And
what does it symbolize?
I do like sports movies because I think kind of the dramatic tension, as you say, is there. Like Chalk Day India. Mm-hmm. And just kind of the way
that's about a team getting together and a former disgraced player.
The way that you can use sports to discuss nation building, to discuss community, to discuss the triumph of the human spirit. These are kind
Think about Amir Khan standing up in the closet when his daughter, and he can hear the national anthem going off.
Well, and exactly, and they took those women's stories and they made it about feminism. They made it about women's rights. I don't think they do anything with Sina's life here, and I don't know. Maybe that's a detriment to the real life figure. I don't know much about her. It seems like she's happily married. It also seems like maybe I disagree with her politically based on what I've heard.
She's also not a match for Parineeti Chopra, really.
Yeah,
there's other actresses who kind of look a lot more like her.
They stick a really big mole on her cheek.
Again, yes.
Saina Nehwal,
more low fun Parineeti's face.
Saina Nehwal does have a mole in the same spot, but I did not find her
it's not a dime size.
Yeah, when I look at pictures of Saina Nehwal, it doesn't stick out as much.
It's a beauty mark. It's not that big.
Yeah, whereas it's just they've drawn a giant black dot on her face. It's not flattering.
You can't see it on the poster though. There's a shuttlecock in the way.
Well, you can kind of see it behind the shuttlecock.
Oh yeah.
Is it the year of Parineeti Chopra?
No, I don't think so. No one is going to watch 2 out of the 3 of these movies.
I think she's given better performances. I agree.
Yes, then Sina. Yes, 100%.
All right, that leads us to our interval song. Are you still with us, listener?
It's Farrar from Sandeep or Pinky Farrar.
Yeah, can you set up this song? This song is so great.
So Sandeep and Pinky are kind of made to go to a wedding. They're doing a deal there. And we know that Pinky likes Salman Khan movies because
I more meant set it up in that it's a fake Salman Khan song.
Well, I'm getting to that. He likes Salman Khan movies. His ringtone is from Dabong, I think. Someone will remember about that. But it's from a recognizable movie. But in this one, him and Muna talk about Farrar 3, I think it's called. Mm-hmm. And we looked it up but that movie doesn't exist. So this is a song from the imaginary film Farrar 3 about escaping, being on the run. Yeah. And it's really good because Pinky goes on stage and kind of semi-drunkenly dances with the groom.
And then he gets really into it.
And then, it's like Napoleon Dynamite kind of, where you don't think this guy's going to be any good, but it turns out he's practiced this in his room a bunch of times, and this is the first time that anyone's ever known that he could do it.
It's so relatable, and it's so clever, and it's such a great way to stick a pop song in the middle of your otherwise very serious movie.
And it's meta too.
Yeah, it's
so meta. A meta.
All right, this is Farrar.
Woo!
Hi there, I'm Brendan, a certified home inspector with Roomy. Do you have a problem that needs fixing? Whether it's big or small, inside or outside, let me help you find out what's really going on. You can call me by phone, or we can take a look together over video chat. Visit roomy.ca, that's RUMI.ca, and go to Ask a Home Inspector to book your appointment with me today.
Hello, I'm Elizabeth Bonkink.
I'm Andrew Paul.
And we're the hosts of the Well Endowed Podcast.
The Well Endowed Podcast is produced by Edmonton Community Foundation, or ECF as we call it.
ECF provides grants to charities through the endowment funds we create and manage with our donors.
Hence the title of our show, The Well Endowed Podcast.
Every month, we bring you a collection of stories and interviews with fascinating guests who are working to make Edmonton a strong, vibrant city to live in.
Through these stories, we look at the space where endowments intersect with your communities.
So if you're interested in the people and issues impacting your community, check out thewellendowedpodcast.com.
All right, so that was Farrar from Sandeep or Pinky Farrar. Next up is Pagalate, which is a Netflix movie. I don't think it came out in theaters, did it?
No.
So this was a straight up Netflix movie, released in March again, 2021, this year. Written and directed by Umesh Bist, and it features Sanya Malhotra, Ashutosh Rana, Shruti Sharma, and Raghuveer Yadav in lead roles. This is kind of a sort of a Hindi equivalent to Knives Out, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Follow me on this one.
Sure.
So,
I see what you're getting at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Sanya Malhotra plays Sandhya, who is married to a guy named Astik, who we never actually see.
Yeah.
Because by the time when the movie starts, he's died.
Mm-hmm.
And
they've been married for less than a year.
He was like 6 months or something.
Yeah.
Like they were not married for long. And basically, she lives at her parents and her in-laws' house with the rest of the family. And various people are coming for the various rituals and things that happen over a course of like 2 weeks. So his brother has to shave his head and do a lot of like kind of religious stuff. They're a very Hindu family. And the mother and the father, they're worried about money. Mm-hmm. Astik was doing well enough at his job that he got his dad to retire.
Yeah, he was supporting them.
Yeah, and there's some business about buying another house. And like all of these different people come into the house. And Sanya Malhotra is isolated from all of them. She's in mourning. She does have a friend who comes by. That's Shruti Sharma, plays Nazia. She hangs out with her and, helps her get food and stuff. And they occasionally escape the house to go get Golgappas or talk to Sayani Gupta. So what Astik never told Sanya Malhotra's character is that he was actually still in love with his colleague Akansha, who they went to school together and they had like a fairly passionate life.
I mean, we don't know if he was still in love with her.
Well, she finds a picture of her and it says like "I love you" or something on the back. So yes, Astik is kind of we never know his motivations.
We don't know. I mean, like, I don't know. I think it's probably fair to keep a photo of one of your exes. I don't know.
But Sanya Malhotra Sanya Malhotra knew nothing about this.
Yeah.
And is justifiably pretty pissed off because she felt that it was a fairly loveless relationship.
Well, exactly. She is surprised by her reaction to her husband's death because she is not necessarily as torn up as maybe she should be. And they
weren't married that long, and it seemed like kind of an arranged thing.
Yeah. She's realizing that maybe there wasn't the romance or passion in their marriage, that it hadn't developed for her to really kind of feel satisfied. She's kind of discovering that she had given up her career, she's educated, in order to be with this man, and that she
live with his whole family.
And she didn't really know him. I think this film actually shares a lot in common with Ruhi in terms of themes.
Yes.
And in terms of kind of denouement. I really liked this.
The Knives Out comparison, though, is that she's the outsider in a family full of kind of oddballs.
Yeah.
And eventually we find out that Astik had life insurance and that she is due like 5 million rupees. So like she could definitely change the financial courses of this family. And then some of them start acting against her.
Yeah.
And some of them start sucking up. And it's also like they're in this awkward situation, and then money comes in, and it becomes this big thing.
But there's no murder mystery.
Yeah, but I thought this was going to be more interesting because when she starts talking to Akansha, who we do like that actor, Saini Gupta.
Yeah, Sanya Gupta's great.
It almost felt like they were kind of like having a thing themselves. And
yeah.
I was
it's hard not to read that, I guess, because of like Margarita with the Straw was the first time I saw Sanya Gupta, and I think that's still kind of a role that I return to in my mind when I see her.
And she's like, Sanya Malhotra's like, well, so what was he like when he was in love? And she starts talking about that, and it was kind of trending towards maybe they would hook up. And I thought that would be a much more interesting movie.
Yeah.
Like this is an exploration of grief, what it does to people, what families do, and pretty...
And also women's roles.
Yeah, and a lot of detailed looks at sort of the rituals that are done when someone dies. We don't really know that stuff. We're not Hindus. So learning that kind of thing, especially the role of the younger brother, all the stuff he has to do, I thought was really interesting. I found it interesting. I don't know if I want to watch it again anytime soon, but I thought Sanya Malhotra was really good. I thought that Saini Gupta's good. The asshole older uncle guy.
Yeah.
He's that guy. Whenever that guy shows up, he's going to be a problem. I thought the cast was good.
The grandmother's great.
The grandmother's good. I thought maybe there's a couple too many people. Her mother is this kind of weird religious person who wants to ward off the evil eye, and there's a lot of characters. There's a lot of people that you have to keep track of. You do get to know all of them by the end, though.
Yeah.
So
I really liked this.
And Raghubar Yadav shows up again.
Yeah,
as crotchety old man.
I really liked this. I think it's kind of a slow burn.
Mm-hmm.
I think it
introduces a ton of people all at once.
Yeah, and it's not. spending time with a family grieving maybe doesn't sound like the most fun thing you could watch.
But it's an experience that we've both had.
Yeah, and I think
felt
also,
pretty true to life.
Yeah, like what it reveals about family dynamics and about people. Yeah, it felt really true to life, even though obviously, like you say, we do not come up from a traditional Hindu family. We are not Indian, but I think that kind of experience of grief and kind of a family thrown back together through this horrible circumstance when, you lose touch with your family because you're off busy living your lives. And then at this point, the things that bring you together are weddings and grief.
I did like we never see Astic. He's always remembered, or you see his stuff.
Yeah.
That was smart. Because then he never gets a chance to explain himself.
I never quite understood how he died. I guess I wondered if it was suicide.
I don't think it was suicide. I think they would have been a lot more pissed off if it had been suicide.
Because the mother is so relieved that his soul will be forgiven of his sins.
Well, it could be. They maybe that's why they go the whole 9 yards with all the religious stuff. I thought it would be like a heart defect or something. I think if it was suicide, they would have. Yeah. They would have been a lot more ashamed of it.
Yeah, I guess I'm not sure if it was ever explained how he died.
No, I thought like a heart defect or something.
Yeah, at times I wondered if it was suicide.
Yeah.
I really like this movie. Yeah, I think Sanya Malhotra is again.
She's
fantastic.
She's the Mario to Kangana Ranaut's Wario.
Yeah, she's fantastic. I pretty much love her in everything I've seen her in. I'm glad that she did not have to wear the wigs that she had to wear for Shakuntala Devi. Mm-hmm. But it would have been nice if she'd gotten an acid wash jean jacket. I really like this. I think
she's in Asari the whole movie. This is a very traditional family.
Yeah, I think it's well worth watching.
It's a bit of a bummer, but I think it is worth watching, though.
Yeah, it's a very satisfying film.
It has jokes too. It's not completely depressing the whole time. Here we go.
Here we go, Matt.
Oh, so happy I get to do this one.
I'm doing it.
Okay,
fine. Why did we watch this, Matt?
Because I picked it. I thought the poster looked cool. Do you not agree?
Yeah.
The poster is much cooler than the movie. So this is Koi Janina. And I think if they played their cards right, which they won't, this could be the next Birdemic or something, because this movie is so off the wall and incredibly stupid that it could be like a camp cult classic. Right? But they're not going to market it as watch the incredibly stupid movie that Amir Khan produced for some reason.
Well, we know why he produced it.
And this was apparently edited, if I remember right, by the guy who edited Lagan. We have confirmed. This was edited by the guy who did Lagan. And I have to say that this is some of the most incomprehensible editing I've seen in a commercial Hindi picture.
Balu Saluja.
Yeah. I don't know if he had like 4 hours to get it in on time, but he did not bring his A game. Nobody did. So, what is this movie? Well, it's about a guy named Kabir, played by Kunal Kapoor.
There is so much plot thrown at us.
Here it comes. I'm going to do it. So, Kabir is an author who is perhaps best known for his motivational books.
Do It You Can.
Do It You Can, which features 2 ellipses somehow. And he is, in the world of Koi Jani Na, one of the most famous people who exists.
Yeah, in India.
Anytime that like a news broadcast is on, it's talking about bizarre contractual problems he's having with his publishing company.
Yeah,
this is like CNN level news.
Yeah, it felt a bit like if he had like a bit like George R.R. Martin, but instead of writing like a big fantasy series that everyone is like waiting for the last installment and frustrated that like he doesn't seem to be getting to it, he's like really, really attractive, writes self-help books, and is also dealing with a divorce.
Yeah. The contractual error.
So not at all like J.R.R. Martin.
The contractual error? Do you want to know what it is?
Not at all like G.R.R. Martin.
Do you want to know what the contractual error is?
Sure.
He is supposed to deliver another motivational book.
You're right.
Without writing any other books in the meantime.
He's contractually obligated to not write other books.
Yeah. It's called The Right of First Refusal, and it's real.
Yeah.
This is completely based in reality. But
does it make news? Does it make headline?
No, this would never make any news. No one would give a shit about this ever.
Yeah.
But what we find him disguised as a fat Sikh guy, right?
It's G.R.R. Martin.
George R.R. Martin.
Yeah, George R.R. Martin.
He is disguised as like a fat Sikh guy and trying to get into a nightclub called Ego.
Yeah.
He sneaks in through the back and then watches Amir Khan, pretty sexy Amir Khan actually. He looks pretty good.
He looks great.
Do a Bollywood number with like the floor show lady.
Yeah.
After that happens, he accidentally, on purpose, maybe murders a guy with a taser. Then we hear all about this contractual issue, and we hear that he's going up to his writing retreat at Panchgani.
Yeah.
On the way there, he picks up a hitchhiker called Suhana, played by Amriya Dastur, who is a manic pixie dream girl type.
Yeah.
She doesn't care where she's going. She's just happy to be on the road. They drive to Panchgani, and he works on his book for a while. She starts working at the hotel. And then they start getting harassed by a guy named Ricky
Rosario.
Ricky Rosario.
Such a good name.
The most going guy who ever existed.
Yeah.
He is named Ricky Rosario. He has a big crucifix on his chest, and he dresses like a sleazy detective, which he is. Mm-hmm. He's been hired by Kabir's wife to spy on him and also make the gardener, Bindia.
Yeah.
She's supposed to seduce him so that she can divorce him for cheating on her or something. Also, there is a serial killer on the loose who is who is inspired by the works of Kabir Kapoor's pseudonym.
Zahan Khan?
Zahan Khan?
Zahan Khan?
Zahan Khan. And this is a sort of pulpy style book series about a guy who like avenges people in the underground.
Zahan Khan,
right. Yeah. So, in the middle of him trying to write this book, he's dealing with this manic pixie dream girl he's found.
Even trying to write the book, I can't tell.
He's also being menaced by a sleazy detective who's taking pictures of him all the time. There's a serial killer on the loose. This movie is a disaster.
Oh, it
is
all over the place.
There is worst.
So much plot.
That's maybe the first 40 minutes I've told you. More stuff happens, but this is like one of the worst edited and like composed movies I've ever seen in Hindi cinema. It looks like it was shot on an iPhone 8. It occasionally tries to show you like what the world of Zahan Khan's books is like by doing that kind of filter that makes it look sort of like you have Ben-Day dots. Like you're an engraving.
Yeah.
And like large scenes of the film are shot through this. And it looks awful. I think they're just trying to do like a Sin City type thing, but it's done on an Instagram filter. But but I loved it.
This is a 1.5 star and a like on Letterboxd.
This movie worked so hard for its 1.5 stars. I think that everyone should watch it and just goof on it, because this movie sucks, but also is
truly terrible.
But it's also like so engaging because you generally will probably have no idea what's going to happen next until you do, and then you'll feel smart like me.
Yeah. Arman Haji is in Lagan. So kind of where this like
the director?
Yeah, the writer and director. So where this kind of pseudo Lagan reunion comes from, and his opening kind of production company logo was like his character from
He's
Lagan.
the drum guy.
Yeah. Atul Kulkarni is another character who kind of comes up later on in the film, and also Raj Zucchi is
one of our favorite sort of bit character actors.
Yeah, and I think one of the reviews we read said playing the most Raj Zucchi character ever.
He is a drunken father who waves a gun around.
Yeah, and so kind of like, there's this kind of, this Lagan reunion aspect to it.
Just the shoddiest
from some of
goddamn
the cast.
Lagan reunion.
The Amir Khan.
They shove an Amir Khan song in the beginning. This comes up never again.
And Amir Khan produced it.
It's actually like a really well done musical number, and I liked it. But yeah, it is. They spent all the money on that, and then about $4 were left to make the rest of the movie.
And Ashutosh Gowarkar does get a like special thanks in the opening.
Yeah, and I bet he was just like, "Thank you. Why did you put my name anywhere near this? This is worse than Mohenjo-Daro."
This movie is a mess. Like I don't even know where to start with how messy it is. It's truly terrible, but I kind of loved every minute of it. I have no idea if Kunal Kapoor and
who's mostly known for Rang de Basanti, also with Amir Khan.
Yeah,
I liked him in that.
He's very good at that.
He forgot how to act in the meantime, though.
I have no idea if he and
he owes Amir Khan money. Maybe.
Amira,
no, Amir Khan owes him money, so they gave him a job.
I have no idea if he and Amira Dastur have any idea that they are in like the campiest movie of the year.
And she's most known for Kung Fu Yoga, which was actually pretty good. I don't remember her being like a disaster in that movie.
Yeah, she was also in Mr. X with Emran Hashmi, which I didn't really like, and Kalakandi, which is quite good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think
she
I most remember her
probably
from
the
Kung
worst
Fu
actor
Yoga.
in the movie. She does a terrible job.
Yeah, I have no idea if they like have any idea. I feel like they're both very committed to this terrible, terrible film.
You can tell.
I think Atul
he knows what movie he's in.
Kulkarni, and who's ever playing the female police officer who is investigating these murders, she's fantastic. She just like,
I think that's Vidya Malavade.
She's just like delivering her line readings like she's chewing the scenery.
She's
fantastic.
She's like Harvey Bullock in the Batman universe.
She's
just
so good.
Over it, but also like she says that her district has really only dealt with like pickpockets and stuff lately, and now that people are dying.
Yeah.
But like she was born to be a murder detective. She's great at it.
It's
Ricky Rosario, I like that guy.
I love Ricky Rosario. And also this movie
that would be a good cosplay.
Not one, but two secret murder rooms.
So like with diagrams on the wall and a bunch of like weird graffiti.
My favorite detail is that the production designers in like designing their murder rooms were like, let's just chop open some glow sticks and like throw them around.
Yeah.
So there's just
let's
glowing
huck this on the wall.
neon dots everywhere.
And mannequins. Everyone needs a mannequin. One of them sort of makes sense. The other one is just sitting there in a bathtub.
This is truly bad. But
if we were to recommend any two movies, I would say Sandeep or Pinky Farrar, and then this one.
No.
And Sherney. Sherney's good too.
Yeah, exactly.
But watch this. Get a little drunk. Watch it, if you live with people, watch it with them. Have a good time.
If you're fully vaccinated and you're at a place where you can like have people over, this might be a good time.
This is a good movie to smoke a bowl and kind of revel in, because it
a good time.
It is truly awful, but I had a wonderful time. There's another movie that's even worse that I didn't have a wonderful time.
Yeah, it's coming up soon.
Yeah.
So next we have The Big Bull. This came out on April 8th on Hotstar. It stars Abhishek Bachchan and Elena de Cruz. It's a biopic. It's kind of like the Bollywood equivalent to The Wolf of Wall Street, but nowhere near as debauched.
Yes. It's like if you liked The Wolf of Wall Street, but were very interested in the financial instruments that were being bought and sold, and not in like the dwarf tossing, the sex, the cocaine, the quaaludes, all that stuff that shows the moral degradation of the financial industry as being like the gangster industry. This is that, but all about the financial stuff.
Yeah, it's all about the financial stuff. So Elena de Cruz plays an author who's at like a very kind of swanky book launch.
One of the fanciest book launches I've ever seen.
Yeah, she's written a book about the Big Bull, this kind of figure from the 1980s, this financial...
He's a real guy.
Yeah, this financial trader who has kind of this rags to riches story, who ultimately like ended up in jail for corruption.
I understand his scam too. They did explain it.
Yeah, so she's narrating kind of his story because she's released a book on him, and also how back in the 80s/90s she was a financial investigative journalist who kind of was hell-bent on...
She was a thorn in his side.
Yeah, she was a thorn in his side. She was hell-bent on kind of revealing his true colors. Now, I'm not going to get into explaining the financial scheme.
It's easy.
Well, yeah, so it involves it involves being a go-between banks.
Yeah, banks lend each other all the money all the time. And I guess in India, you needed a trader, like a trader, a trader, to kind of hold the money for a day in between the transaction. Mm-hmm. But what the Big Bull figures out is that, if the bank lends you, they're essentially giving it to you in your name, and then you give it to the bank the next day. Mm-hmm. But what he figures out is that they've given you a bunch of money, and you could try and do something with it in that day. And then if you get another bank to lend you money or do a transaction with you, it's called a BR. If you get the next bank to do it, then you use the second bank's money to pay off the first bank's transaction, and you keep rolling it forward, and then you get a little bit of extra money to play around with, and then you get the interest on whatever your deals are.
He also gets involved in insider trading.
Yeah,
the first scheme is insider trading.
Yeah, so he does insider trading too. But I guess the stock exchange at this time, he's like the first guy that figures out that they're giving free money away. You can use it. You just have to give it back later. Mm-hmm. And he's able to use that to essentially kickstart like the commercial trading industry in India, because average people did not buy stocks, and he makes it so that the stock market grew. Mm-hmm. And he only did it by just making up fake money.
And interestingly, unlike The Wolf of Wall Street, which is a film I do not like.
It's a pump and dump scheme. That's a very easy scheme.
Yeah. But unlike The Wolf of Wall Street, the film doesn't have contempt for this guy. Instead, it kind of like ultimately wants to like heroize him.
Yeah, and that's why the movie doesn't work.
And that's part of why the movie doesn't work, because he's like truly a corrupt individual who's taking advantage of loopholes in the system. But what he's doing is like clearly illegal and wrong.
Well, he's also massively inflating stocks.
Yeah.
And getting people to buy them just because, he says it's going to be a good one. But eventually that stock will go down, and he is not going to be holding the bag. Someone else is going to lose money because he said it was a good deal.
And so it's fascinating because it focuses on the less fun aspects of things, whereas, like I say, The Wolf of Wall Street focuses on the fun aspects, and yet has like complete admiration for this guy. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I found this a very confusing film. I did appreciate how well it explained the finances at work, because I would never understand that.
Yeah, you don't need to know anything about the liquidity of the stock market in the 80s to get at this.
But the overall message of the film I found kind of problematic. Also, this is the most unattractive Abhishek Bachchan has ever been, which, I mean, maybe he's, trying to look like the real... It's a long pandemic. Maybe he's trying to look like the real guy, but I did not appreciate that.
The only things I've ever seen, like the only reviews or anything I've seen of this movie, keep comparing it to the TV show Scam 1992. I think it's 1992. Okay. Which is on Sony Live, and it's like a 10-episode miniseries about this guy. And that is apparently very good. It just is not available here. So anytime you say, this is like a worse version of that, cool. Like, I don't know, I can't see that one. So this is a mediocre movie. And yeah, it's valorization of this guy. It ends off as like, he'll always be the big bull. And that's like saying, the tornado that hit Edmonton will always be the big tornado that hit Edmonton. Just big things are not necessarily good.
Yeah, I don't know. I couldn't quite get a handle on like what I was supposed to take away from this film.
I feel like we should have if we known anything about him. For us, it's like watching a movie about Bernie Madoff. Like, yeah, he also did a big scheme. He's bad though. We don't like Bernie Madoff. Why would we be interested in? Why would we think that he's cool?
Well, yeah, and even though I think like The Wolf of Wall Street does have problems in the way that it glamorizes Jordan Belfort, I still believe that like Martin Scorsese does have contempt for him. Whereas
he absolutely hates Jordan Belfort. Whereas the makers of this movie think that the Big Bull was actually pretty cool.
It's Kuki Golati who directed it. I don't know. I think maybe they have admiration for him.
And so, I guess this is history, so it's not a spoiler, but he dies in jail, and it is implied that he's been murdered by the cops who, like, tie him to a car and make him run and have a heart attack. That's really interesting. How come that wasn't, like, a bigger part of the movie? As opposed to, oh, he got another BR from the bank, and he's bought a new house, like... Okay, he's dealing with politicians. He gave the prime minister $1 million.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Matt, we're in the home stretch here. We can do this.
This one's me.
This is too long. Well, no, you got 2 in a row. I get 2 in a row.
Okay.
This is Hello, Charlie.
Okay, good. I hope you enjoy this one.
This is an Amazon Prime film.
Worst movie I have seen in at least the past 2 or 3 years.
Produced by Farron Akhtar. If you're confused by Amir Khan producing Koi Janina, I'm confused by Farron Akhtar producing Hello, Charlie.
What are they doing? Why is this happening?
Directed by Pankaj Saraswat. It sort of stars Jackie Shroff.
Jackie Shroff was involved in the production for at least 2 or 3 days, I have to assume.
Adar Jain and Shloka Pandit.
There's a hot lady and a dumb guy.
Yeah, the basic plot of this...
He's a big bull type character.
...is that Charlie is like a dumb pizza delivery guy who gets the opportunity, he gets paid a bunch of money to essentially drive an ape across, like, from one town to another town.
It seems like maybe the work of a day, maybe a day and a half.
He's told that this, like, gorilla is, like, a famous gorilla that performs. What he doesn't know is that it's actually...
Doesn't he do Dancy Dancy Booby Booby?
Yeah. What he doesn't know is that it's actually Jackie Shroff in a gorilla suit, because Jackie Shroff is like a corrupt financial guy.
Yeah, he's a big bull type guy who's ripped off a bunch of people and needs to leave town.
Who is trying to leave town so that he doesn't face prosecution. On his way from Mumbai to, I don't remember where they're going, but somewhere
on the coast, so he can take a boat to Dubai, I think.
Exactly. So on his way from Mumbai to wherever they're going, where Jackie Shroff is going to escape, hijinks ensue. It is a truly terrible film. Do we need to say anything else?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Wow. What else do we have to say?
So
this is what happens when you have seen all the movies. I could just like sum